Is radio dead? Well, there is a huge seismic shift that has just happened, and you as Latinos, you are the target.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Slant.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version. All right, Polly, let's go.
Polly here on the Latino Slant. I hope everyone is doing well. Before we get into our video, I'd love for you to do a couple of things. Share the link. Hit the like. It does help. And if you feel so inclined to support the channel, hit us directly at our PayPal. It is right there. This is how we stay alive, stay independent, and keep it real. And we are going to keep it real because we have an incredible story to go over. So what we're going to do, make sure you watch the entire video. We're gonna read this entire article, read some comments from people. Then I will give you my 2 cents. But also, too, at the beginning right now and at the end, we're running a poll on Twitter. And the question I asked was, is terrestrial radio dead? Is terrestrial radio dead? And the votes so far are saying by 75%, yes, terrestrial radio is dead. Interesting. But let's get to this story. What are you talking about, Polly? I am talking about exclusive, and this is on Axios. It's all over. It's reported all over at this point. New Latino media startup launches with historic $80 million raised. Now, these are the two founders of Latino Media Network. And let's make myself smaller. Oh, you can't see me. There we go. And let's read this article. This is a fascinating development, and I want to get right into it. Latina activists and entrepreneurs Jess Morales Roqueto and Stephanie Valenzuela have raised $80 million to launch a new Hispanic media company called the Latino Media Network. Why it matters. It's one of the largest capital raises for a Latina-owned and operated startup group in the U.S. It's pretty audacious for people like us to be doing something this big, Morales Roqueto said in an interview. Steph and I have been raising money for a long time, but this is orders of magnitude bigger than what we've ever done. Driving the news. With the capital, the duo has acquired 18 Hispanic radio stations, Spanish-speaking radio stations across to markets from Televisa Univision. The deal, that's right. So let's just say that right now. 18 different Hispanic radio stations in various markets, and we'll go over that right now. The deal, valued at $60 million, is one of the largest single acquisitions of radio stations by a Latina-owned and operated company. Those 10 markets are some of the most dense markets in the country, Valencia said, referring to the markets like Los Angeles, New York, Miami, Houston, Chicago, Dallas, San Antonio, McAllen, which is also in Texas, Fresno, California, and Las Vegas. They basically give us access to 1/3 of the Hispanic population in this country. Most of the acquired stations are primarily Spanish language, and a few are bilingual. Some of the AM stations are talk radio, while others are sports broadcasting affiliates of major pro sports teams. Most of the FM stations are music focused for now. This is huge. This is a seismic shift in Latino media in the US. This decision follows a formal process in which Televisa Univision met with dozens of potential buyers, Televisa Univision said in a statement. The startup has recruited dozens of high-profile Hispanic, make myself a little bigger for a minute, celebrities, entrepreneurs, media figures, and investors to join its cause. The board will include Morales Roqueto, Valencia, as well as radio entrepreneur investor Tom Castro, social justice activist Henry Munoz III, Castro has bought and sold over 50 radio stations, serving the Latino community, and serves on the board of Nielsen and Cumulus Media. Lakestar Finance, an investment group affiliated with the Soros Fund Management, is the leading investment. And other individuals, including Hollywood actress entrepreneur Eva Longoria, are also investing. So though that is where that 80 million is directly coming from. Alrighty. Also on the board, I also connected award-winning Univision anchor Marilena Salinas, Al Cardenas, former chair of the Florida Republican Party and American Conservative Union, will serve as advisors. Catch up quick. Valencia formerly served as a special assistant to former President Obama and the White House Principal Deputy Secretary of Public Engagement. Morales Roqueto has worked on various nonprofits and is an alumna of Hillary for America, the AFL-CIO, Obama for America, and the Democratic National Committee. Asked about whether the company would have a political bent, Morales Roquero said, "It's not about politics. We are serious about serving the community, about free speech and free expression." Okay, went on the record right there. Free speech, free expression. Of course, Stephanie and I, we are who we are. We aren't and don't want to hide that, but this is not political. Between the lines, Latino Media Network said it will focus on media content creation and distribution across all mediums with a specific focus on audio to start. The company is planning to expand beyond radio into podcasts and content on YouTube, ding, 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 and other digital platforms. It will take a bilingual approach, producing and distributing content in Spanish and English across various platforms like audio streaming and social, as well as its own channels. We're interested in expanding the digital footprint across all these stations, Morales Roqueto said. YouTube is a major entry point for Latinos, she noted. Ha ha ha. I am holding all my own thoughts and opinions till the end, but I want to know, what are you thinking right now? What are your comments? Let us know right now. And again, stick around for the whole conversation here, because we're going to give you the final polling update on this question as to whether or not terrestrial radio is dead. And still at 75% think that it is dead. All right, let's get back to the story. By the numbers, radio has the highest weekly reach among Hispanic adults in the U.S. at 96%, compared to 92% of total population. Per Nielsen, radio engagement among Hispanics ticked up dramatically during the pandemic. Podcast listening time among U.S. Hispanics jumped 44% in 2021. Per Edison Research, more than 1/3 of the U.S. Latinos adults listen to podcasts monthly. How it works. From a business perspective, the company says it will make money from advertising against the radio content and, in the future, syndicating content to other stations. While the radio ad market has recovered from COVID, Valencia says there will be more business opportunities for the company as it expands digitally into multi-platform audio across YouTube, podcasting, and other places. This is the second time they've brought up YouTube. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression. Remember that. From a content perspective, Latino Media Network said it will build programming around authoritative news personalities and subject matters experts to help the Latino community navigate complicated topics like healthcare, finance, and small business. While much of that content will be supported by advertising, some programs will be funded by philanthropy, Valencia said. The big picture. The Latino Media Network raised and Televisa Univision deal represent the latest major movement of momentum for Hispanic media. 2 weeks ago, Candle Media, the Blackstone-backed Media holding firm led by Disney veterans Kevin Mayer and Tom Skaggs acquired Exile Content Studio, one of the fastest growing Hispanic content companies in the world. Last month, a startup backed by private equity purchased some of the most influential Spanish language newspapers in the US. Latinos are driving the growth in population in the US, but the community has long been treated as a monolith. Latino Media Network says it will focus on creating content that addresses the different cultural and political nuances that impact different types of Latinos. Bottom line, often our stories have been erased or invisible. In some ways, you wouldn't know that Latinos will be the principal part of the US population in our lifetime, Valencia said. Us being able to bring a sense of belonging, influence, and power to this community is incredibly important. What's next? The company is hiring an executive team, including a CEO, to start recruiting talent and managing the Televisa owned assets. This transaction is expected to close by late 2022 following regulatory approval in the US. Editor's note, the story has been updated with additional comment from Morales Roqueto about the company's politics. All right. So what are your thoughts here, guys, on what is a seismic shift on how Latinos are going to get their information in Spanish and in English here in the States, how they've been getting it, and how is maybe that could change? Do you guys listen to any Spanish language radio here in the States? Talk radio, bilingual, Spanish, otherwise. So yeah, that is the seismic news there. I keep saying seismic because nothing like this has ever been done before. Different people have talked about it, but it has not been done. Now, before I give you my my thoughts, I want to do two things. We're going to update the voting poll. We're now 60% that terrestrial radio is dead, 40% that it's not dead. So it's gone up a little bit. What I want to do now is I told you that this story is being covered in every national and regional media outlet, including one in Chicago. And so I want to bring up some of the comments from the viewers in the Chicago market on this buy. I think there's a couple of interesting comments here to just to pay attention to. Okay. So this was from the article, the Daily Herald, Chicago media served fresh daily since 1980. And kind of this the same story, different. It says it's based in Santa Fe, New Mexico, which is, I believe, where one of the founders, where they reside. And kind of the same information that we had gone through. Let's get to some of these comments. As someone who only listens to radio while in my car, I'm amazed by the numbers. Over 11,000 listens per week, and that makes them 57th in the market. This indicates that's quite a few people are finding joy in their AM and FM dial, while I channel surf, trying to find listenable music. Another one, according to BIA, WRTO AM has good but not full market daytime coverage, reaching those numbers. Total 11 county market population. And there's more numbers. You'll be able to see it here. I will put this link in the chat, in the video description as well. At night, the station's power is reduced. So he's just talking numbers. I want to get down to these three. Included in the purchase in Miami's WAQI FM radio, which is AM radio, which is better known as Radio Mambi. This station is known as the Cuban exile community's leading on-air outlet, and Radio Mambi has a reputation for stalwart and occasionally quixotic conservative programming beyond its understandable criticism of the Cuban government. The Miami Herald reports that the Latino Media Network has ties to Democrats. Well, we already said that. They're very open about that. Stephanie Valenzuela worked for President Obama. Well, just Morales Roqueto, a workers group, They will try to tinker with the. Will they try to tinker with Radio Mambi's ideological on air, or will they permit the station to continue on course? Interesting question that will be. I have an answer with that. At least I think I do. 2 more comments. From an advertising market perspective, thank you. Identifiable, quantifiable, probably in time, unified systems for buying time to the Hispanic community. Interesting. Now this last one. I can't help but think that Univision pulled a fast one on these ladies. Univision got rid of its lowest performing stations and will continue to get paid for operating them while keeping all of their most profitable businesses. Okay. I will have that link in as well. Now, let's check in with the poll one last time. We're still holding at 60% that terrestrial radio is dead. 40% is that it's not. All right. Don't forget, please, if you want to support this channel, directly hit that PayPal. Thank you very much. Wow, there's a lot to unfold from this. So my first thought is, with this buy, this is just the first tier of what probably this network wants to do. And they're starting off small, and they want to show that they can make money over the next couple of years. And then they can easily do that with repackaging their content to places like YouTube. That's nothing new. It makes sense. It's smart. And it's even smarter when you do it in Spanish and then in English. So there's that thought. Now, there's questions about the politics of not only the 2 founders, but also of people involved. Let's just say that everyone involved is left to center, maybe very progressive. Let's just assume that. Even though we know that there are a couple of moderates and moderate Republicans on the board that are a part of this deal. But let's just assume that they're all very progressive. Can they stay out of their way and run a business that can serve the community with all different types of opinions, true freedom of expression, freedom of speech? Or will they, as someone said, tinker with some of the conservative channels, which have been known from the left side to give disinformation? Well, probably not. Even though they have said, and they went on record and made sure that that was in that Axios article and updated correctly, their track record is one of an activist nature, which, hey, whatever works, whatever you believe in, you do what you feel is right. One of the things that one of the members is into a gross, according to them, a gross disinformation in the Spanish-speaking market. That the stuff that has been gotten away with in the Spanish-speaking market on radio, according to her, is major disinformation. And so there's that. I just don't see how you cannot tinker then with some of the more conservative outlets. To say that it's not political, I don't know if I agree with that. Now, let's say, okay. So since they've gone on record saying they are who they are, and a lot of these people on the board and that are part of this are very much activists, leaning towards the left, more progressive. This eventually, as it grows and becomes more successful, is a pipeline to the Latino vote. At the end of the day, that's what is also in play here, is the Latino vote. The Latino vote is slowly but surely skewing towards the right. I feel this is the first step in a organized effort to reconnect the Democratic Party on a street level, on a real level, on a family, multi-generational level with the Latino community in the US. It's smart. It makes sense because in regards to the US Latinos and their families, terrestrial radio is huge. Huge. And the fact that some of these networks carry a lot of sports, someone did their homework. And these markets, fantastic. Fantastic. There have been articles in the past couple of years in regards to the Latino vote going towards the right, going more conservative. And I've always said the Latino families, their heart has always been conservative, especially more of the first generation immigrants. So one of the arguments was that by calling them Latinx, that was a disconnect from voters. And that's how a lot of voters, Latino voters, are being lost from the Democratic Party. I see this as a first step in the retooling and rebranding of the Democratic Party to the Latino families. So, so to sum it all up, this independent thinker, myself, leaning libertarian, I have no, I just have no appreciation anymore for both parties or any organized or political parties that are in power. They go back and forth. I am interested to see where this goes because I truly believe that culturally and socially, the Democratic Party has lost their touch with the U.S. Latinos and the families. I feel that the Republican Party has always been completely out of touch because they've always assumed that because Latino families are by and large conservative, we don't have to worry about them. So you have both parties relying on this huge voting group that they both take for granted. So I would say now to those people on the right that want to vie for the Latino vote, a chess move has just been drawn, and it's seismic. Don't mistake it for anything else. And the fact that they also too are connecting this to YouTube a couple of times, just in that article and what they're saying, and as far as the how they're going to implement and repurpose their product content wise, podcasts, YouTube. We know how YouTube leans. So this is a big story. This definitely will have some more updates as we go along. Again, I would love to hear all your thoughts. Look out for the Daily Cella to give a article op-ed on this as well. And let the political games begin, because like it or not, this is a huge political move. All right, that is it. Thank you so much. Let's do that last final Twitter poll. 60% terrestrial radio is dead. 40% it's not. Well, there you have it. All right, we'll see you soon. And wherever you're at, guys, keep your slant muy fuerte. Paz.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. The slant.
Yeah, but is this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version.